The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey Joe, just let me know if you can hear me so we know our sounds are good.
Okay, Courtney, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you just fine.
Perfect.
All right, everyone, and welcome to Q&A with Joe McNamee. Okay, so for anybody who's new, how these things work is that there's a little hand with an arrow on it, and you click that if you have a question, and then I will unmute you and I'll let you know so that you can ask your question. Or there's a question box that you can just type your question in, but we would always recommend that you'd rather use your own microphone to ask your questions. So without further ado, here's Joe.
Okay, Courtney, one more time. The sound is good?
Yep, sounds great.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start off Q&A with the question and answers first, and then I've got a few different things that I want to talk about, some things I want to make you aware of that you may or may not already realize, but they're extremely valuable. So first, I'm going to open it up and see if there's any questions. And so, Courtney, do you have anyone asking a question yet? I know it's a little bit early, and normally I run off at the mouth a little bit before we start asking people for questions, but just let me know if there's anyone yet that has a question.
I don't have any questions yet, so for anybody who has a question, just raise your hand or type it in the question box.
Okay. All right. So just let me know if, as people come up with questions, and then we'll go ahead and take them at that point. All right. So I have a few questions for people. I want to know who is not doing at least, let's just say 1 to 2 deals a month right now. Who is not doing that? And I want them to just stand up, be honest, and say why they think that is. What's holding them back? Is it a family member? Is it, you don't understand the marketing? You can't get a deal to happen because you don't know what to say. What is it? So let's go ahead and start off with that. So that's my question to y'all first. Courtney, you're there, right?
Yep, I'm here, and Erica said she thinks I need to do more marketing.
Okay, so let's unmute Erica.
Okay, Erica, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey, Erica, so I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Okay.
All right, so what marketing have you been doing?
It's primarily been Craigslist. I just got business cards, so I should be getting those in the mail any day now.
Okay.
And I haven't ordered any bandit signs yet, but I'm a little concerned about bandit signs anyway in my area, so I probably need more guidance on those.
Okay, so what I want you to do is contact Courtney directly. You can do it today or tomorrow, it's fine. But contact her directly, and she'll hook you up with a sign training video that I did a while back. And I want you to watch that, but I want you to also listen to what I had to say about it right this minute, okay?
Okay, I did watch the video already.
You saw the full sign? You
Mm-hmm.
saw a sign training video?
Yeah, it's on YouTube, right?
Well, all of my videos are hosted on YouTube, but I don't know if you got the full sign training video. How long would you say it was?
Maybe 15 minutes, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly.
All right. Okay, so let's just talk about it for a few minutes. You're concerned about the signs because of what?
Just because of like local laws, I don't see any up really in my area, so I'm not sure where to put them, and I feel like I might spend the money on them, and then they're just gonna get thrown away, and then I might have issues.
No one can stop you from putting signs on your house. There can be a limitation of how many signs and what size that you put on your own property, but you certainly can put a sign. I've never seen anywhere that doesn't let you put a sign at least in the window. But you know, the bottom line is that you've got to get some signs, and you've got to make sure you're at least doing that. Otherwise, people aren't even going to find your house that's for sale. So that's number one. Number two, in your travels, in your area, you see no politician signs, no garage sale signs, no missing cat signs, no realtor signs, no signs of any type is in your area?
Oh, I definitely see all of those, but I
Okay.
don't see any like we buy houses signs.
Okay, well then that's a great thing. And so now I'm
Okay.
scratching my head wondering what Wes is doing, because you should be seeing his signs unless he's walking around afraid of that same thing. So here's the deal. You got to comply with the rules, the laws, but at the same time, if you can tell that there's poles that people are putting signs on, um, and maybe the sign's there for a week and then maybe it's down or whatever, like the house that, did you watch the video this morning, the people we just finished up the house deal this morning on my Facebook?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, you need to watch that because it was really cool. I'll talk about it a little later on, but
Okay.
anyway, the signs that we put out are on a state highway that are the pointer signs that get you into the neighborhood. Constantly, DOT is picking up those signs of mine and throwing them away. So I'm spending, I don't know how much those little pointer signs are. They might be $2 or something. I don't know. So we may have spent 10 or 20, maybe even $30 on pointer signs. But when you look at the numbers that happened in that deal and watch the negotiations of that deal, you'll quickly realize that that really doesn't matter if that happens. But they'll take the signs down just arbitrarily, or they'll take the signs down when it starts to become grass cutting season, which it already is now. So the signs are removed so that when the mowers come through, they can cut the medians and all that kind of stuff. Now, there's that. The next part of it is that when you see those poles and you see all the staples and nail heads and all that kind of stuff and little pieces of torn paper, that's a place where people are regularly putting those types of signs, yard sale and all that kind of stuff. But when you see that, you know that there's people doing it there. Now, the next thing is that if you feel like you're in an area where the sign police or the self-appointed sign police, the neighborhood, is going to have a problem with it, then all you got to do is find people that will allow you to put your sign in their yard. So let's say that it's an intersection of a couple of streets where they definitely need to know to turn right there, and typically you'd put a pointer sign out there close to the curb or the edge of the road, which is in the right-of-way. Or the other thing that you could do is talk to the neighbor that lives right there and ask if you can put your sign in their yard. So in other words, you're not on the right-of-way anymore. Let's just say it was the right-of-way was at the easement is maybe 10 feet further than the paved area of the road. So if you're up at 12 feet, you're on that person's property. So your sign can go there. That person decides whether the sign can be there or not. Not a person saying you can't put it in the right of way or in the easement because that's city or county property. But if it's private property and there's not an ordinance against a person having a sign in their yard, then you're just looking for someone that you can do that with. And literally, if you want to, you can say, look, as soon as the house sells, I'm going to give you $50, or I'm going to give you a gift certificate to the restaurant of your choice, or I'm going to buy you pizza every Friday night of your choice, going to be delivered for the next 3 months, or anything like that. But you can make an agreement with people, so you definitely get the signs. There's different ways that you can use them if you feel like you're in such an area that people are so uppity that they won't allow signs to be out there. There's still ways of accomplishing that. Okay, so make sure you're doing the signs. Now back on the Craigslist thing, make sure that you're not doing just Craigslist. You're going into sites that are similar to like Postlets and all, so that it's being posted in multiple different places to include Craigslist, but not to be limited to just Craigslist. Okay, and you should see a significant difference change right there when you do that. All right, any questions on that, Erica?
No, no question. That's a good idea. I should probably work with a neighbor, because in Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, I see the poles that you're talking about that have signs on them, or people have taken them down with the staples, but not up here where I live.
Okay,
So,
look a little bit harder. I know you just moved back to that area, but look a little bit harder. You might be surprised at what you find there. I'll tell you, people who are experts. Now, this is a simple little tip, but a lot of people don't realize this. The experts at finding yard sales, garage sales, rummage sales, that kind of stuff, the experts at that are the people who own thrift shops, because a lot of times the thrift shop people are going around to those yard sales and picking up the trinkets, the things, for next to nothing, and then bringing them to their thrift shop and then selling them in the thrift shop, or they're making a deal with the person who has these yard sale items to go on consignment and put them in, and they're hunting for those yard sales via the posts that they're putting online, the advertisements they're running in newspapers, and the signs they're putting out there in the neighborhood. So they might be able to point you in the right direction of where they look for multiple signs or yard sales going on. So there might be spots that you didn't think about or didn't realize, and poof, all of a sudden, oh, there's this one corner. I never go down that way, you know.
okay.
So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to, is there any other questions out there right now, Courtney?
No, there's not a question, but Bart was answering your question about why he wasn't doing any deals, and he said, a deal hasn't occurred yet for me. One fell through, and I'm working currently on one.
Okay, open him up. Unmute him.
Okay, Bart, you're unmuted.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Bart. Yeah, I remember that one that fell through for you, that the lady had changed her mind. I don't think it fell through. I think it's just delayed. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah.
delayed.
Some personal thing happened with her where she decided right now wasn't the right time, but shortly down the road it will be again.
Right. And
I'll
right
tell you,
now I do have.
And I'll tell you why. Let's stay on her for a second.
Okay.
I'll tell you what happens sometimes. Do you remember? I think I negotiated that for you. Do you remember
Yes.
me saying to the person, there's this crazy thing that I always ask people, and I point out to them, and they look at me like I'm nuts by asking this question, and it's when I'm talking to sellers. But are you prepared for us to move fast, for us to have a lot of potential buyers look at your house in a very short period of time? Are you prepared to handle that? And they look at me and they're like, they don't half believe it when I say that. And then all of a sudden, when a couple of weeks goes by and it's already time for them to decide, okay, am I moving out next week or next month or in 3 months or whatever, because we already have a buyer lined up. And that's probably what happened to that lady. She probably thought that we were smoking dope when we said that, expect this to happen really fast, and a lot of people. And it's kind of like I had a Fortune 100 company become a commercial tenant of mine in one of my commercial office complexes. And
Right.
when they came to me, they weren't in this area at all before they came to me. And when they came to me, they said, look, we grow by 20% per year, meaning the size of their operation was employees and, cubicle stations. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Well, I didn't believe that it would grow that fast like that. Well, it grew like 32% per year. And so I had to build an addition on the office complex within a short period of time to continue housing them. And then I was out of space. And so then I was going to build a building for them. Then I decided not to do that. And so they had to go and lease another space. But I totally didn't expect or believe that they were telling, that it was really going to be that way. But it was. So anyway, so now you got another deal that you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm working on one deal now, and the seller, they're just kind of skeptical about this subject too. They don't understand.
Well, you should
And,
not. Wait a minute. Do you already have a buyer lined up for them?
I do have somebody on my buyer's list who is ready to live in that area.
Well, yeah, but that's not a buyer that's saying, I want that house. So you don't have a conversation about a subject to purchase. I'll give you an example. I have a student. She's not on right now because she's with her attorney right this minute. We're about to finish up a deal for her. But her very first deal, she's never done real estate before. I think her and her husband do own the house that they live in, but as far as her being an investor and doing regular real estate deals, never done any before in her life. Lo and behold, the first deal she has is a cash buyer. Now, who would expect that in this economy? I mean, I have probably 2 of those a year that happen. So it's not very likely, with all the deals that I do, it's not very likely that you're going to have an all-cash buyer right away. So,
Right.
but if she had talked to that seller about, hey, look, there's this thing called a subject to, and the seller said, that kind of scares me. I'm not really sure that I want to do that. And you haven't built a relationship with that person over time of showing that there's no buyers like they want out there. If you start off right off the bat talking to them about subject to, then she would never have been able to put that house under contract, and then she wouldn't have had the all-cash buyer. So
Right.
you have to realize that you're trying to go on a date, and in the first night, you're trying to marry the person and take them on a trip to Hawaii, which is where you're going to live now, and have a house with 3 bathrooms, 5 bedrooms, a picket fence, and 2.5 kids.
Right.
It's not time to talk about subject to or anything else, any other creative financing, until after you put the option to purchase in place, you've marketed the house for a little while, and then you've got buyers that are speaking to you, the market's speaking to you, telling you how they'd like to buy it, and then you go back to the seller and you say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, the way that you wanted me to sell this, the way that we both want it to be sold, is not working, but here is a way that we can do it, and here's the benefits for you in this case, and I have that buyer lined up right now. Would you like to hear more about that situation? And so now you've built a little relationship with them. You've had 68 people, I'm just making up numbers now, 68 people look at the house. None of them will buy it the way that the seller wanted it to be sold, and now they're a little more interested in hearing more of what you got to say for several reasons. One big one is you brought more buyers to the table, more buyers, prospective buyers looking at that house than anybody else could possibly do in a lot shorter period of time, and you have developed a relationship with them. You've done what you said you were going to do, and then you have come to them with, there's this benefit for you to do it this way instead of it happening that way. And then the last part of this is that when you can solve their problem and make it possible for them to do anything else they want to do down the road instead of just being stuck living in their house when they wanted to move or needed to move, you're their hero.
Right.
So you have to do it that way. You don't have a conversation with a person that you're taking over their house about any kind of creative financing or any other technique until that's the only thing that's going to work in that short period of time when you started marketing it. Okay?
Okay.
Now they're convinced.
Okay. What I did is I had the option to purchase form. And on the optional purchase form, I said that my business will be purchasing this property as a subject to purchase if we find a satisfactory end buyer. And that's when they read that.
Yeah, see, you didn't need to say that.
So I don't need to say put that on the option to purchase form?
No, not yet. Not yet. Okay, remember, that contract can be rewritten between the time that you start the deal and the time that you finish the deal with them. So if I need to rewrite a contract to accomplish what we have agreed on accomplishing, then it's just a piece of paper with new signatures on it. That's all. It's no big deal. It's not like, oh, it's etched in stone now. Now we have to, get a crane to pick this rock up to carry it to my office, and then we got to get out a hammer and a chisel to try to, fix what we changed. It's not. You throw that that one away. The new contract supersedes the old contract, and here's the new agreement, so that it's written the way that it needs to be for whatever the next step is. So let's go back to this contract.
Okay.
So what do they owe on the house?
They owe $117,000.
And do they want anything above that?
Yes, they
How
want $15,000
above that?
above that.
All right, so that's $132,000 they want. So
And the comps on the house is between 140.
None of that matters right now. We're just trying to get this house under contract so that you can get the market speaking to you, buyer speaking to you. All right?
Okay.
So then you're putting in the agreement that you're buying this for $132,000 contingent upon you finding a satisfactory end buyer. That's it. Not that I'm going to buy it subject to and do a seller carryback second for the other 15 and all that kind of stuff. We're not saying any of that right now.
Okay.
They want the 132. We're saying we're going to try to give them the 132, and it's going to be contingent upon you finding a satisfactory end buyer. So now there's nothing in there that scares them. What did they want? 132. What are you saying you're going to give them? 132 if you find an end buyer. All right. Obviously, when I sit down with people, I'm telling them, look, I'm not buying this to move into it. I'm buying this to make a profit. If I can make a profit off of it, I'm going to stay in the deal. If I can't, I'm still going to help you with, if I've got somebody who is willing to give what you're asking and there's no more money there, so the house can't make me a dime, I'm still going to try to help you and make it possible for your problem to be solved so that you'll tell everyone what I did for you, period. All right, so if you had done it that way, you'd have the option to purchase. Now you'd be marking it to your list. At worst case scenario, you might end up with a whole bunch of foreign buyers on your list and not move the house at all. And that's a possibility. I mean, that probably happens to me maybe kind of up and down. Anywhere from 2 to 5% of the time, I can't make the seller satisfied. The rest of the time, and I'm okay with those numbers, believe me, the rest of the time, I can do something that satisfies the seller. So, so that's where you got to go right there. We're not talking about subject to. Like I say, in the dating world, you saw her across the room. She looked really good to you, and you decided to go over and talk to her some more, and then instantly, you're at least taking her on a trip for a week on a cruise that same night, and so you may not have gone all the way to the marriage stage yet, but you've at least done that, and it's like, and yes, you could find that individual that's that party individual who will just jump on that, but most of the time, people, it takes a little bit more of a relationship building before they want to spend a week with you on in a little cabin on a cruise ship. So, all right. Okay. So does that make sense, Bart?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay, Courtney, any other questions?
No, not at the moment. I don't have any questions. So for those of you...
Why in the world would people be coming on to a Q&A without a question? To listen to other people's questions?
I'm not sure.
Okay. No questions right now?
No, for anyone who does have a question, though, if you're new, you would just click the little hand with an arrow on it, and that lets me know that you have a question, and I'll unmute you. Or you can type your question in the question box.
Okay. All right. So I see Wes on there. Is that right? Is Wes Smith on there?
Yes.
Okay. So Wes, I have a question for you. Why is it that Erica is in your area traveling around and she can't seem to see any type of We Buy House signs at all in that area? So, and I'm wondering if maybe Wes knows a little bit more about the sign police and the issues there. So let's just see if Wes might have an answer for that. So we'll wait for Wes to respond back to that. Meanwhile, just let me know if he's ready to.
Yep, he raised his hand. So Wes, go ahead. You're unmuted.
Imagine it.
Hey, Joe. Yeah.
Hey, Wes. I was just making sure that you weren't sleeping, man. So I put you on the spot.
Nah. You know what? Actually, interestingly enough, we just got back from a closing.
Okay.
And so I got on about 10 minutes late. But yeah, the sign police, it really just depends on the area.
Okay.
So
all right.
We got those kind of figured out for sure.
All right. So you know spots that it's okay to put signs and spots that's probably not.
Right.
Okay, and
Right.
that's true all around the United States. I mean, I run into that constantly. And then, we might go through a sign posting campaign, let's just say, where I'll have people go out and put signs out for me, multiple different places. And then all of a sudden we'll get a phone call and somebody will say, you can't put that sign up, you got to get that sign
Right.
and all that. And so then people will go out and take all their signs down instead of saying, what sign are you referring to? Oh, it's the one on the corner of Pine and 123 East Montgomery Street. And
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, so then we go and remove that sign, but we don't remove all the signs. So there's that, but there's so many different ways to get over on the, not get over, but comply with the rules and still have your signs up. How about is it a county issue or is it a
Yes.
city issue? Is
Well,
it county?
it's not a county. Like I'm in Gwinnett County,
Right.
so it's not the county as a whole.
Okay.
But there's a couple of municipalities or cities, towns that they do definitely do the the policing of the signs.
Okay, so what
yeah.
I typically do with that situation is just before the city limits, that's where my signs go right there, in addition to
Exactly.
other things that I've said in the past and then on the sign training video. So just make sure that you realize that, okay, before you get into the city limits, I'm in the county now, and the county says, hey, it's no big deal. But the city's the one complaining. So people are going in and out of that city. They all don't just live in the city and stay in the city and never go anywhere. Most of the people are traveling in and out. Okay? All right.
Yeah, as long as the police, because if you put them in the city limits, the police actually will start calling you.
Sure.
And we know those areas now. We don't touch them with a 10-foot pole.
Yep.
So.
Well, I've had that happen to us also. I had the chief of police of a little tiny town called Register, Georgia. I mean, the population is probably, I don't know, maybe 5,000. I don't even know what it is. So if you hunt it and it's 12,000, I don't care. But it's a real small area. And the chief of police called, you can't put that. Okay, well, we'll go get that sign down. We take the sign down, and that's it. That's all there was to it.
We actually said one time we were going to go get them, and I just didn't get a chance to go get them. So apparently they got taken down. I told him I was going to go get them. I was, yeah, we're going to be over there to go take them all down. And
he may have taken it down, or somebody did before you even called you. It's a possibility. So they may have taken it down and then told you. I had a county official take one of my large commercial signs down one time, and he ripped my sign up. It was a huge sign. It was an expensive sign, and he ripped it up, ripped it off of the tree that it was up against on post, that was on my property. It wasn't on county property. It was on my property. It was my personal property. And, there's nothing wrong with my sign being there. But, yeah, sometimes they do ridiculous things, and you will run into that. But that's just part of the cost of doing business,
Apparently they have an ordinance about putting them on trees, because we had a similar issue. It was a residential property.
That's right.
It was right adjacent to a main road. So we put our sign, we buy houses, on the pine tree.
Yeah.
And the police officer called and he said, no, you can't put them on the pine tree. Even though it's your property, you can't put them on the pine tree.
Right. You can't nail it to the tree. Right now I'm working on a product that attaches to the tree that doesn't harm the tree at all. So for mountain signs. So right now I'm working on that product. So.
They pull deals, so we definitely like putting them out there. You just got to watch out where you put them for sure.
That's right. That's right. Okay. All right, Courtney, any other questions right now before I jump on?
Yes. Bart actually has another question. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Bart, so go ahead.
Okay. Joe, on the option to purchase form, when I gave it to the seller, he read, I told him to take it home, and he and his wife was going to look over it, and they looked over it. In item number 7, it says, seller agrees to maintain all heating, cooling, sewer, plumbing, and electrical systems to include all appliances staying with the property. He wanted to know, is he responsible for maintaining this even after I get the deed to the home?
Once you make the agreement with him, you may only do a lease purchase from him where the deed's not transferred, but then you're taking over. That's a whole different form now. The option to purchase is just the beginning form so that you've got something in place that says that you have this agreement in writing about purchasing that property. That gives you the tool that you need to assign it, if you're going to assign that, to keep them from trying to do a deal behind your back. But that's not the document, that's not the end-all document. Once you find the end buyer that satisfies the seller with what you can do for them, and satisfies you, and satisfies the end buyer, then you're creating the new document from there that will then make it to where the seller no longer is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the property. But while you're just marketing the property, looking for an end buyer, they are responsible for it. We don't want to take on responsibility of a property that, you know, we don't own, and we don't have any type of control over that property as far as making money off of it yet, because that we're not making anything off of it while we're trying to market that property. Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And Bart, don't feel bad about asking questions like that, because a lot of people are going right this minute, oh, that's right. and the God's honest truth is, it's just not obvious. Every single piece of this is just not 100% obvious of what's going on until you're actually physically doing this. And then there's these little tiny things, it's just little tiny adjustments, just like that right there, just like the thing with the subject to before it's time. Just those little fine-tuning things that I spent years and years and years adjusting, fine-tuning. I'm still fine-tuning to this day. But, you know, you don't have to go through all those years of trying, oh my gosh, I've tried for 3 years to make a deal happen, and I haven't been able to because of this, this, and this. And it's like, I didn't know I could do something like that. And then Joe says, oh, well, here's what you do. Boom, it's done. It's over with for you. So now you can move on to some bigger and better situations. Okay.
Good. Yes.
All right. Any other questions there, Courtney?
Not at the moment. I do not have any more.
All right. So if you haven't had a chance yet, you need to go out and take a look at Courtney, what is today's date? Is it 28th? 28th?
Yes, 28th. Okay.
So take a look at 28 April, and the reason I'm saying it like that is because this will be a recording, and then people will hear this in the future. The 28 April post of mine this morning of this is just a little snippet of us finalizing a deal with a Hispanic couple that's buying one of my houses that, you know, we had an interpreter involved in it. So there's actually 2 much longer videos that tomorrow I'll post out there, the links for them, so that you can watch the entire process, the whole thing that went on with the interpreter sitting there in my office and, you know, making the agreement on this deal. And then at the same time, this morning, we had the interpreter back on the phone, on speakerphone, to you know, tighten up any loose ends before we went down the road of making this happen for them. But you need to take a look at that. You need to watch that video. That's just one example of many live negotiations that I do. But one of the things that I've got tied to that particular deal that's happened yesterday and this morning is that the house cost, years ago, the house cost me $10. I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars off that house, and then I just made another $20,000 up front on that house, and I'm about to, let's see, I'll make another almost $60,000 off that house, just because of one marketing technique that I'm offering up to everyone, which costs $197. It's a complete training process on this one technique that I use to acquire properties with. Now, it's called the direct letter marketing campaign. One of the things, everyone out there that will sell you any type of marketing campaign with sending direct mail out will tell you a little bit about, you know, here's what it does, and here's what you should do, and blah, blah, blah. None of them will actually physically do this themselves and record the whole thing and show you all the results of it. So what I decided to do was show you how you do this campaign, what list you choose to, and how you go about choosing that list, who you should and shouldn't use, what technique should be used to just get all that stuff into your hands, how you should then deliver that that mailing, and then how you should respond to all the things that are going to happen from that, and then how you should follow up with all that. You're going to get an entire training program step by step, and then in addition to that, you're going to see all the results that I'm going to receive from my next campaign, which will start next week on this whole doing this one technique. Now, I have dozens of ways that I get sellers to come into my world, but this right here, for years people didn't know how to build a buyer's list. People that have come into my world, they've learned how to advertise their terms, and they're starting to get some buyers. Now their problem is more about getting sellers. So those people are now going to be offered this program. Now this is a little bit different. This does not always mean that you're going to get the house for 10 bucks. You don't know how it's going to take place. You might have to spend $1,000 on it, or you might make $16,000 off it up front when you're buying it, and then make money off of the end buyer. So I can't tell you, how that's going to play out exactly for you, but I don't spend any more than $1,000 on a lot of my deals. Now there's some that I'll do that's outside of this world of where I've got you at right now, but when you're ready to get into that world, then you'll go into my advanced stuff. So this product, this deal, you can watch that, see what we did. It's extremely unique compared to what most people do. You will not find anyone that teaches you step by step how to do this, especially for $197. So if you decide to purchase that through us, you have to call the office. There's not an order page. You have to call the office, talk to Courtney, and order that directly. We're only doing 100 of those at that price, and then the price is going to raise significantly from there. But that's your pre-construction price, so to speak. And you'll get your part 1 you'll receive next week. If you buy this week, you'll receive it next week. And then part 2 and part 3 will come shortly after, and there'll be an ongoing updates on everything that's going on with my campaign that you're going to be following and then doing it yourself. Okay, so there's that part of it. Now, Courtney, any questions?
No questions right now.
Okay. All right. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is I keep noticing people struggling with different things that are in Jumpstart that people aren't catching. I tell people to do it 3 times in a row. They catch, a good 90% of what's being said, but somehow or another, the most important parts they're not catching. And so it's bothering me because I want y'all making money from deals as quick as possible. So what I did was we created 2 additional videos that we put in Jumpstart. One of them is the 10 steps video. So these are the 10 steps you should do first now that you've listened to Jumpstart 3 times. And then we put the other video, Courtney, I forget the name of that one there. It's the one that what they should have learned. But what did we name that? Is that what we named it?
What you'll learn in Jumpstart, but they should always watch it at the beginning and the end, or
right
after they've watched it and before they watch it.
Right. Now guys, a 19-year-old is telling you that right now. So you have to kind of think about that. She already realizes what you have to have in your mind when you're paying attention to Jumpstart. Too many people out there are making people believe that just because you bought this program, you're going to make a bunch of money. And it's so sad what goes on out there with people. But when you're listening to the videos, when you're watching the videos, if you haven't listened to the what you should have learned video first, maybe even each time you do a module, you should be listening so that you can look for, aha, there's the answer right there. It's kind of like when you were in school and you were given these 5 questions and you have to go back through and read the report over again to try to find the answers to those 5 questions. Sometimes they're worded exactly, the question is worded exactly like what the answer is, and sometimes it's, you know, a little bit different than that. So what I want you to do is make sure that you're paying attention to what you should have learned, and then listen and look for those answers in Jumpstart. Then go and initiate the 10 steps immediately when you feel confident to do that. It could be after the first time you listen to it. I didn't tell you not to listen to it 2 more times, but you can go ahead and get started. That way you've got questions, better questions. You know, I've got this one couple right this minute that they're having a hard time. They've done Jumpstart a couple of times, and they're having a hard time understanding how they can apply what they've learned in Jumpstart to their lives to make money. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. So let me just cover one thing about Jumpstart and what's going on in there. You're learning, and it's not, this is what you're not learning. You're not learning how to steal houses from people. You're not learning how to find desperate sellers. I see people put signs out there. There's, you know, signs for distressed properties and all that, and that's what they're looking for. It's that's not, if you're only looking for that, you're going to limit yourself on how much money you can make. You're going to limit the number of deals you can possibly do. What you're looking for is people who have property that you can put an option to purchase in place, and then you're looking for people who want to buy property, and a lot of times the banks won't write the check to them, or because of that property being over leveraged or something about the bank not wanting to finance it, but the person still wants to buy it. And so you're finding people who want to sell and people who want to buy, and you're trying to stay in the middle for cash flow so that you've got a continued revenue from that, continuation of the revenue coming into your business from doing that deal. And if you can't, if the house can't afford you staying in the middle because there's no cash flow, then you're just assigning what you're doing there with it. But the bottom line is you're finding people who want to sell and people who want to buy, and you're looking for the delta, the difference there, to be your profit. When you set yourself up just as simple as what I just stated right there, you will do the same house multiple times. You'll have multiple deals that'll come from that house deal. You'll have buyers on your list that can't buy that house but want a different house, you know, want something in the future that you'll want, you know, that you'll acquire. And so then that's where your business starts to go from. You may only make $1,800 off of your first deal. You may only make $57,000 off your first deal. It's okay. It's where you got to get started. You know, it's like if you're going out there to dig the footer, dig trenches, to pour concrete for a foundation to hold up a house, you might run into some roots. You might run into some stumps. I remember this one house I was doing a huge addition on, and the guy built bridges that owned the house, and he had mischievously or secretively cut down these pine trees that were, honest to God, they were probably about 7 feet in diameter, the base of them, but he cut them down and covered them over and then waited until there was plenty of leaves and vegetation growing around it, so he didn't reveal that those stumps were there, but he's the one that cut them down and knew they were there. Then when I came to do this huge addition, I think the addition was like 3,000 square feet on his house, but we started digging the footer, and all of a sudden I run into these monster with taproot pine tree stumps underground where he knew they were there, you know, and they were right there in the footer. And so of course I had to remove them, and you know, that was hundreds of extra dollars to remove them with a heavier piece of equipment and throwing away the weight of that stump. So by the time I got done with it, you know, I had lost more than $1,000 off of what I would have made. It was $1,000 less just because of him being mischievous. Those kind of things are going to happen. So anyway, I kind of got off track there, but you got to build this foundation of getting some deals going. So when I did that foundation for that place, if I didn't fight through the stumps being in the way, then I wouldn't have been able to finish the rest of that addition to make the rest of the money off of that deal and get other deals in the neighborhood from doing that deal because, we did a good job. So you got to realize that you're going to run into stumbling blocks, things that aren't going to work exactly right or perfect for you. You fight through that, you learn from that, you grow from that, and you make just a little bit of money off of it instead of a lot of money, so that down the road there's bigger, profits for you just by cutting your teeth, so to speak, on these beginning deals. All right, so there's that. Okay, let's go back into seeing if there's any other questions out there for people trying to get started or doing more deals.
Nope, I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay, that's amazing. We've had, what, 2 or 3 questions, and I had to force most of that out of this group. So, okay, well then, as soon as you get a chance, go take a look at that video that we posted today on my timeline, Facebook timeline. And tomorrow there'll be the full negotiation videos. It's going to be long now. It's going to be, there's 2 different days worth of stuff. It might be, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours long total, whatever it ends up, that's what it is. But it's kind of an interesting thing, working with the interpreter, doing the deal. You realize behind the scenes what the house actually cost me, how much I've made off the house, over and over again, and then here comes another deal that we're able to do just because my marketing keeps going and it doesn't cost me anything to do it. Okay, I guess we're going to go going once, going twice. That's it. We're gone. All right, y'all have a good day now. Bye.